Hello and welcome to PCI Webinars. Today's webinar, The Quiet Approach to Customer Service with Andrew Sanderbeck. Andrew has been developing and conducting training programs for libraries and library organizations for more than 15 years. He has presented web-based, online, and face-to-face sessions on management and leadership, customer service, and communication skills in the U.S. and numerous countries around the world. Andrew is a board member of the Haywood County Public Library in North Carolina and a monthly donor to every library, advocating for libraries everywhere that support is needed. Coming to you now from North Carolina, it's Andrew Sanderbeck.
All right, Ann, thanks. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the program. We're going to take a look at what I have titled here, The Quiet Approach to Customer Service and to Serving Customers. And just type in the discussion area just so I know that my volume is coming through okay for you. Would you just type in and let me know? And also, if you have a chance, if you would type in just your position or your library, just so I also know who I have attending today. That's always helpful for me to know if I'm talking with managers or administration, frontline, whatever that may be. So thank you for taking time to do that for me today. Let's go through the agenda here of what we're going to look at today. First of all, I want to talk about, I think introverts, shy people, however we want to phrase it, tend to get a bad rap. Especially when it comes to being in positions that require us to interact with our different customers or patrons, whatever phrasing that we're using here. And so I want to focus on the first part of the program, looking at strengths. And looking at the strengths instead of, so many times I hear about the weaknesses or the things that introverts may not do well. So I want to flip the switch on this and take a look at the strengths that we already possess and how they can really help us in the work that we do. I do want to go over some of the challenges for us that we do face, and I know some of you, just by looking at the discussion area here, it looks like quite a few of you are in a position where you may be managing others, and this may be something where you may be managing some folks that are more introverted or shy or quiet. I want to look at some customer service success tips for you and for those that you are managing. And then at the end of the program, I've got information just on really just some things we can do with regards to stress relief. And a word that you're going to hear me mention a few times today is overstimulation. And overstimulation is something that is very difficult for the folks that are more introverted or shy. And so I want to make sure that we look at just what can we do to help folks who are dealing with this overstimulation and do that. So that's what I've got lined up for you today. The inspiration for this program comes from Susan Cain's book, and she has got a couple of them out there, but The Quiet Revolution or Quiet was brought to my attention a little while back, and this book really did some very positive things for me. One, it validated that it's okay for me to be introverted and to have an introverted side. And then I really got to explore just the different things here that Susan was talking about. And I highly recommend that you put this book on your read list. As you can see, it is a bestseller. And just the information that she talks about of how it is to be an introvert in an extroverted world, and how that schools and businesses and different things like that really tend to focus more on the extrovert, and the introvert may feel a little left out in the process. And she does a very good job of highlighting the actual strengths and the research behind the power of introverts and what she calls her quiet revolution. And so you'll probably hear me talk about a couple of books today, but that's certainly one of them. So I want to focus on strengths. And the first one that I want to talk about here is our ability, number one, to keep our thoughts to ourselves and not to blurt out things like maybe some extroverts or some may do. Let me step back real quick. I did put a quiz down in the download area, and this quiz is from one of Susan Cain's books, and it's a very short quiz that I challenge you to take after the program, and maybe if you are managing folks to give it to them as well. And one of the things that I found in this whole process was that I am actually an ambivert. And so an ambivert is someone who kind of falls right on that line between an introvert and an extrovert. And, thinking back on this, when I did Myers-Briggs some time back, I was right on that EI line when I did Myers-Briggs. And so, the more that I thought about this, the more that it made sense. Tell me in the discussion area, do you consider yourself to be an introvert? Or have you done Myers-Briggs and you came up on the I part of that? So do you consider yourself to be an introvert? And we'll see. I see some yeses coming in, lots of yeses. Angie may fall into more of that ambivert type thing, as well as some others that are typing in here. Okay, and so Susan actually says in her book and also in her TED Talk that she really believes that an ambivert may have the best of both worlds. So it's our ability to, in essence, be an extrovert when needed, but also I crave alone time. I crave silence, and those are things that are not typical of an extrovert. And I just have learned these things, and I'm sure you've learned these things about yourself as well in this process. And we're going to talk about recharging and different things here as we go through. All right, so keeping your thoughts to yourself. I'm a big believer, by the way, of don't believe everything you think, because who knows where your mind goes and what direction it goes. A lot of ambiverts on the program today now. And so one of the things here is our ability to remain quiet. And this can be a huge strength. And think about some different customer service situations, or for those of you that are in management, in situations where you have learned to observe. And this to me is a huge strength for folks. If you have that ability to just observe, monitor your thoughts, and do those different things and not fill in the silence. One of the strengths that I find many times that folks in customer service have is the ability actually to be quiet and to let there be silence. I found this is a powerful tool in customer service because a lot of times, well, number one, the customer may not be comfortable with silence, but I've also found that the folks doing customer service may also not feel comfortable with silence, and yet it's one of our most powerful tools I think that we can use. So kudos to you that are with us on this program that have this ability to observe, that have this ability to not feel like they have to speak up immediately, and that they can just take a step back. And then also, certainly that ability to monitor your thoughts. Because please understand that you are dealing with your past. You're dealing with baggage from the past. You're dealing with experiences from the past and different situations. And there may come situations that come across for us that take us back to something that's unpleasant or something that didn't turn out well. And our mind can really start to play some tricks on us. So consider this a strength if you have it. And for those of you, as I said, that are managing others, certainly consider it a strength for those that have that ability to observe. And I truly believe that this is a skill that can be taught as well. Excellent listening skills are something that the folks that are more introverted or shy are very well known for. And to me, another huge strength. How many customers have you heard that have said, maybe, I just really needed someone to listen to me. I just needed to feel heard today. And I don't know what the data suggests, but I firmly believe that a large number of customer service situations are really resolved just by the fact that we listened. And now I'm talking about active listening, obviously, and then engaging the customer from there and what we're doing. And so look at your listening skills. How do you feel about your listening skills? To me, it's a skill that we can always sharpen. It's a skill that we can always continue to improve on. And yet, I will give you the advice of Dr. Stephen Covey, who says, with regards to listening, one of his habits is to seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I have found that to be just a gold mine when it comes to engaging folks in conversation. To seek first to understand them, even if I don't agree. And we're going to have customers that come into our library that we don't agree with yet, but to give them that space where we will seek to understand them, to me, is huge. And I do believe it's one of our great strengths that, as someone who is more introverted or shy, can bring to the table. All right, the third one that I have on the list here is our ability to represent our business. And I believe the library is a business. And so I'm very comfortable in just calling it how I see it. A lot of people, well, we're a nonprofit, or, oh, we don't charge people money. I don't care. Do you have a budget? Do you have a payroll? Do you have expenses? Do you have vendors? We're a business. I mean, let's just call it for what it is and be proud of that. We are in the library business, and we are in the business of helping people. So I'm cool with that. Anyway, introverts, as far as what I want to put out here is that you will see from them more professional behavior. And now this is learned and many times taught in what we do. And yet I have seen it that the introvert is one who tends to dress more professionally, to act more professionally, and in turn will represent the business of the library or the library itself in a more professional way. I will go back to that it is taught. And as a matter of fact, some of our most popular programs that we have in our archives, believe it or not, have to do with teaching professional behavior. And so no one is born knowing it. And yet what I do see is that those folks that tend to be more introverted or ambiverted tend to be folks that do represent what we do a little more professionally. There's a really good TED Talk, and it looks like that the picture that I had up here did not come through, that I'd like you to check out. It's by Amanda Palmer. And Amanda Palmer is, so once again, this is a TED Talk. And Amanda Palmer is a musician. And she starts her TED Talk by coming out and standing on a box. And she stands on the box very still. And give me a yes or no. Have you ever seen the performers, the street performers, or like statue people that do that type of work? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses here. Okay. She started off, in essence, learning how to ask for what she wants by being a street performer. And her name was Bridezilla, believe it or not. And so she was this 8-foot bride in the full gown and everything. And she talked a lot about how this helped her overcome her fear of being introverted and of asking for what she wanted. And Susan Cain will talk to your head. Susan Cain's books are very intellectual. Her TED Talk makes you think. Amanda Palmer will speak to your soul. And I am so happy that I came across her TED Talk some time back now, and highly recommend that you look at that. She just talks to your soul. It's really quite interesting in how she does that. And just she focuses on be yourself and be who you are. And this is the message that Susan Cain puts out. In a world that wants everyone to be an extrovert, in a world that seems to actually reward extroverts more than introverts, how long can you do that? And I'm actually going to talk with you in a little bit about something called free trait theory. which gets into, in essence, that I can play a role and I can put on a customer service mask, and and we ask our people to do that. Yet that's not truly who I am, and how do I incorporate that into what I do? All right, so next, I really believe great strength for introverts has to do with patience. And patience to me is so critical in our success in customer service. And we have to know the line of when enough patience is enough. And we learn it through experience, and we learn it through the different things that we do. And I saw a quote once, and I'm going to butcher it, and I'm sorry, but the quote talked about patience is actually how we behave in a given situation. And I thought that was really quite cool. It's how we behave while we are waiting. So, when we are dealing with a customer that is venting or is really needing time for whatever reason that may be for them, that we have that ability to stay in the moment with them, that we have that ability to remain patient and to care for their needs and not let our head get in the way and take us in different things. And I want you to think about a recent time where you use this skill. And maybe you can put that over in the discussion area. Can you think of a situation recently where you used patience and it got an outcome for you that you were happy with? And if you want to type that in the discussion area, feel free to do that. Could have been a customer service situation, could have been a situation even with one of your staff and what was happening with there. But you focused on, you demonstrated that patience. Leading into focus, once again, this is considered a great strength of those that are introverted, is the ability to stay focused on the situation and focused on the problem, and not to be pulled in different directions, and not to be pulled away by different things that may be going on around them. One of the things to be cautious of here is that one of the things that may cause us to lose focus is overstimulation. So if there is just too much noise, there is too much going on around us, then that may cause us to lose some focus. But usually focus is certainly considered one of our great strengths in customer service. It's our ability to focus on the problem, to focus on that customer, to give them options, to give them choices, to help them to resolve their situation to the best of our ability in what we do. One of the things that an introvert will not do is dominate a conversation. And of course, I had to go blow it up big here and say world domination because we live in a world of blowing things up big. So you may hear some folks that are more extroverted that may try to dominate a conversation, that might just try to word the customer to submission. That will not be what an introvert will do, and it's certainly not our strength, nor is it comfortable. We are more comfortable listening than trying to dominate a conversation. If there is one thing that we hear about introverts that is a skill for us to work on, is that we may be too quiet, and we may need to assert ourselves a little bit more in what we're doing. But I think this is a huge strength of ours. It goes back to our ability to listen. It goes back to our ability to observe in what's going on and not have the need to feel like I need to dominate any conversation. I mean, take this out of customer service. We're having a meeting in the library. Think about the people that tend to dominate those meetings. Would you consider them more extroverted or more introverted? Usually we would see them as folks that are more extroverted that, well, they kind of like to hear themselves talk. And that's okay. I'm not saying anything bad about extroverts or introverts. I believe both have styles and both have their challenges and both have their opportunities for success. I will tell you this, though. It's a whole lot more fun to be in the role of an observer for me. All right, so there are some challenges for us that are more introverted or ambiverted when it comes to taking on some of these roles, especially roles in customer service. One is it can just be very uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable to be the one that's under the spotlight, as I've kind of got noted here. Whether it is you're being asked to go talk to a group, which some of you in your libraries are, or whether it is that you are just dealing with a group of teenagers, you are dealing one-on-one with a customer at a service desk, there can be a feeling of discomfort. And what Susan Cain recommends, and I recommend, is that number one is just be aware of the discomfort that you're feeling and start to get a better feel for what situations make you feel uncomfortable. And I just got a note here on phone, and I'm going there in just a second. You are just like one step ahead of me. So, social discomfort, yes. Be aware of it. For those of you managing folks that are more introverted, ask them about this. What are situations that make them feel uncomfortable when they are in front of the in front of the customer? And the phone is definitely one. The phone to me, well, I kind of like the graphic on the left. Just please hang up and like text me, or please just hang up and come down and talk to me. Um, Introverts don't like the phone, and I'm sure there are probably different reasons for it. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that this does exist, and that if, especially managing staff members, you may have folks that are just not comfortable on the phone, and it's a conversation to have. You yourself may not be comfortable on the phone. I will tell you, the phone to me in customer service, I think it can actually be more brutal than talking with someone face to face, just because the phone is so impersonal. And that's why, for instance, when I'm talking with someone on the phone, I like to ask for their name. And I like to say, hey, my name's Andrew, and try to personalize this to the best of my ability. But kind of supporting the comment there that's in the discussion area about the phone, it is certainly something for us to look at. How is it that we can become more comfortable? What is it that we need to do differently? Because to me, discomfort simply means to look at what can I do differently the next time? What is it that I can do that will help me maybe to feel a little bit more comfortable? And then on the other side, too, I'm going to tell you a little bit of discomfort is not necessarily a bad thing. That tells me that there's something going on that I need to look at. All right, what about angry folks? I certainly think that we deal with them in the library. We see different types of behaviors out there that we could describe as angry or difficult or uncomfortable or whatever they may be. And for the introverts, I think this can be even more challenging, because I want you to think of the amount of energy and stimulation that is going on in these types of situations. It can be very high. It can be somewhat disturbing or distressing. And one of the things that I think we need to really look at a lot here is, in essence, introverts are struggling in situations where they have to do things. So you have to give that recording. You have to give that greeting. You have to say things that way. Introverts more than extroverts struggle with this. And so this is where I want to bring in something called the free trait theory. And I'm putting this down here in the discussion area for you. So the free trait theory, in essence, just simply talks about that when we are involved in this case, we're talking about customer service, that whether we are introverted or extroverted or whatever personality trait it is that we do have, that we can and do act out of character in the service of what they call core personal projects. So, okay, fancy word. So what is a core personal project? Well, a core personal project, in essence, is your why. It is why you do the work that you do. So give me your answers over in the discussion area. Why do you do the work that you do? Why did you choose to work in a library? Why do you choose to do this work? Because that gets into our core personal projects. Why do I do webinars? Why do I do training? Well, very simple, because I believe it helps people. I believe that I can offer a perspective. I believe that our information will help people to be more effective in the work that we do. And when I'm looking over in the discussion area, service, helping people, helps me be a teacher without having to grade papers. I love that. To serve the community that I live in, to give everyone a free space to exist, connecting with people, and connecting people and resources is my love. See, when we talk about love and passion, we're talking about our core personal projects. And so when working in the library is a core personal project, then it's easier for me to put on the mask. It's easier for me to get out of being introverted or ambiverted Andrew and do what's needed to serve that customer and what's going on. So you may want to look a little further at free trait theory. It's really quite interesting in the thing that it tells us. And Susan Cain talks about the same thing in her programs. She talks about that you look at Rosa Parks, you look at Eleanor Roosevelt, you look at some of the folks that stepped up and took a role and did something that it was extremely uncomfortable for them, that was things that they would not normally do, and yet, because it was their core personal project, they were able to step up and do the different things that they did that had an impact, in those cases, on many people in life and what's going on. So, when we talk with employees and we talk, and even just looking at ourselves, we need to look at what motivates us. So what motivates me to come into work? What motivates me to come into the library to do the work that I do? And, we've been taught that there are these extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. So intrinsic gets into the things that are the inside, the internal drivers. That would be our passions. That would be our beliefs. And then there are the external, money, benefits, camaraderie, those different types of things. And so for us, when we look at free trade theory, we're looking more at the internal. And I think it's an important conversation not only to have with yourself, but if you are in the role of managing others, is to understanding more of what the driver is for people that are coming to work. A lot of times in the library industry, it's not going to be money. So maybe you're more driven by literacy. Maybe you're more driven by advocacy. Maybe you're more driven by the freedom of information, whatever those drivers are. Those are the things that will help us to take on the roles that are necessary for us to be successful in our work with customers and what we do. All right, so success tips. Let's take a look at some of these here. I want to start off with looking at preparation. Preparation tends to be one of the things that introverts do very well. And I am looking at myself and just thinking that I get the need to prepare. And I don't necessarily like to always be someone who's in improv mode. I see someone typed in helping students succeed, helping people find what they need. Once again, more of those core personal projects or core personal reasons. So we probably all can take on an improv role at some point. And there are times that we need to kind of dance in front of the customer. And yet I look at preparation and our ability to just be prepared. One of the things that I, as an example, when someone asks me what's going on in my library, do I have to go run and get a newsletter? Or have I looked at the information? And can I answer that question? Because I've been prepared and I know when chess club is, and I know when the next reading book club is, and I know those things. To me, those are simple preparation things that we can do that really make us look like rock stars in front of the customer. And certainly it's a whole lot better instead of I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. That one drives me crazy. I know you can't know it all. Yet I think there are some things that we can do, like look at what are the events that are going on today. Do we have story hour? Is there, a program going on that someone's asking a question about? So just taking a couple of minutes each day to be prepared is certainly seen as a great strength of introverts, and I think it's something that we can teach everyone and what's going on. I want to do one more thing in preparation here before I jump into introversion and a lack of confidence. I think one of the things, and I'm thinking about angry customers here, I think one of the things that we need to be prepared with are phrases, are things to say. So I've put some phrases here over in the discussion area that I have totally R&D, as my good friend Cindy Church has said, which is rip off and duplicate. So that behavior is not allowed in the library. If I have someone that's acting out, that comes from the black belt librarian, Maureen Graham. Uh, and Steve Albrecht, who's done some programs for us, and his programs are in our archives here. I love his phrase, if you'd like to stay in the library, you'll need to boom, boom, boom. So you'll need to quiet down, you'll need to take your phone call elsewhere, you'll need to not bring in food, whatever it is. And I love that one because it's a choice statement. If you'd like to stay in the library. So you have the power to stay in the library. So if you'd like to stay, then this is what you'll need to do. Try that one out. I think you're going to find that one is really powerful. Another one Steve likes is our insurance does not allow you to. So our insurance does not allow you to come behind the desk. It does not allow you to go into that part of the library. It does not allow you to climb on the shelves. It does not allow you to set a fire in the library. And I think that you can use that one a lot in a lot of different ways. And whether you have patrons that are customers that are upset or not, I think you need to have different techniques that you can practice and be prepared for with different situations. And I've listed a few of them that I like. One is called a question technique. So let's say that your library has a policy where there's no food, whether it's in the library or in a certain area of the library. And that is to approach the customer and to say, did you know that food is not allowed in this area? And I love this because, number one, it gives the patron the benefit of the doubt. So did you know? Now, if you've got someone yelling at you, I love, did you know you're yelling at me? Because a lot of times they're so worked up, I'm not sure that they even know what's going on with their behavior. Another one is because. And the because technique is simply, instead of just saying, well, this is why, it's our policy, or our rules are, the research overwhelmingly says that people are more responsive when you give them the because. So there is no food allowed in this area of the library because of bugs or whatever the reason is that you're going to give them. A note here, another good phrase is you may not be aware of our policy on this. Absolutely. And then I learned, unfortunately, from a dear friend that works in libraries in Maryland. And she says, unfortunately, instead of I'm sorry or whatever type of first word that may come out of your mouth. So unfortunately, we cannot let you take out a reference book. That has to stay in the library. Unfortunately, the computers are going to turn off in 10 minutes. Unfortunately. And she just finds that she gets a lot of really good interactions using that phrase. So what I want you to think about is, what phrases do you have that you're prepared to deliver when the need is there? And it makes you look more professional. It makes you feel more confident in your abilities when you have those different tools. So if any of those 6 that I gave you will help you, then to me, this has already been a very successful program with that. So one of the things we need to look at here is, are you truly introverted, or is this more lack of confidence? Introversion does not mean a lack of confidence. Introversion means that you are less able to handle stimulation more than anything else. And if you watch Susan's TED Talk, you'll see even more how she takes this into depth. So where are the areas that you don't feel confident in? When I do my workshops, especially on customer service, I like to talk with people about, just where are those areas that we're not confident? Where are those areas that we tend to lose control? Or where is it that our emotions start to get into play? That has nothing to do with introversion. That just has to do with I'm not comfortable, or I don't have confidence in handling. Maybe I don't feel confident in handling someone who's yelling at me. Okay, well, good. Then let's just acknowledge that I'm not feeling real confident with that. And what type of skills or what type of different things can I do to feel better about that the next time that I'm doing it? Maybe I start using phrases like, cursing is not allowed in the library. I'd like to I'd like to help you solve this problem, and I'm unable to do that if you're yelling at me. I mean, we can see it in our folks. We can see it in ourselves in situations where we're not as confident in handling it as in others. I just spent 2.5 hours at a local auto repair shop today. And I mean, you talk about a job where pretty much your job is to tell people bad news. And I watched this gentleman today, and was just amazed at how he handled, telling people, no, that's going to be $727. That's going to be $900. That new tire is 110 plus tax, and he did it with such confidence and with such ease. And yet, I know this gentleman, and he's a total introvert, total. See, but he has the confidence. And through that, you can see his skills, even though he is constantly delivering bad news to people and what's going on. All right, what overstimulates you? I get different answers on this, but I'm interested in yours. What do you find that overstimulates you in your work environment? Go ahead and put that in the discussion area. What overstimulates you? Is it if there's too much noise, too much commotion, too many things that are going on at once? Oh, a mess on my desk. Interesting. I'm the kind that I don't like messes, but I like stacks. But that's a different thing. Noise, constant interruptions. Wow, kind of welcome to our everyday world, huh? There's so much data out there about interruptions and how many times we're interrupted in a day, and truly, what we continue to learn is interruptions in handling them effectively are much more about how you leave a situation to go handle the interruption. So, did you take 5 seconds to write down what it is that you need to do when you get back from the interruption? Because a lot of people have trouble restarting after the interruption. Too many people asking for the same thing at the same time, or for something at the same time. Yes. Crunching potato chips. I think we need to talk about that one. That's got a little something that sounds like a little, back into that noise area again. But I've heard people say the crunching food really gets to them. So it's a noise issue. Too many people talking up again on that one. All right, clutter. Uh, Parents coming in to do their children's assignments. Oh, yeah, don't watch the line you're walking on that one. Patrons' urgency, sure, because it's, they need it now, obviously. Multiple patrons requesting help at once, yes. And to me, that's where we need to show confidence. And that's where we need to say, I am handling this customer right now. I will be with you next, and I will get to you after that. Or let me get help so that, we can get people in here to help you with this. And depending on staffing, maybe I can do that, maybe I can't. My coworker's not doing their job. All right. I could delve into an hour program on that, and I'm only going to do 30 seconds at the most. That's not your problem. Your coworker's not doing their job. That's on management, not you. Keep your focus on your work, and that's it, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So unless you're in a management position where you are managing those coworkers, then that's a different situation. But if not, kind of go back to the serenity prayer there with things that you can control and things you can't. And because to me, peace of mind is the most important thing. And getting caught up in what my other coworkers aren't doing, I just don't know that that's the best use of my time or my energy or my peace. All right, a growth mindset here. I challenge you to look at, shared office space is one we see a lot too, just because there's a lot of noise and there's very little privacy in what's going on there. So, can we look at situations like these that you guys just listed in the discussion area as an opportunity for you to grow? So, what is it that you can do differently not to let noise overstimulate you or minimize that? What can you do differently with many people asking for something at the same time? What can you do differently with just that shared office space? Can you walk away a little more often and find some privacy? Maybe yes, maybe no. But my challenge to you is to look at what you can do differently and see what happens with that. All right. And then, just especially in these customer service situations, what's your best way of interacting? What's your comfortable mode of interaction? Is it to be behind the desk? Is it to be out talking with them? Is it to be, well, I'm thinking it's not on the phone. I can tell you that for me. Where are you most comfortable? And what's your best ways of interacting? Can you maybe improve your skills of asking questions to get better answers from folks? I find it very difficult when I have someone who is upset and they will vent and talk and go on for minutes, and I just don't have a clue what they want. That's hard for me. Because in this process, I'm still trying to problem solve, and I'm still, trying to be intellectual when they're really just in emotion. And so that one I find is hard for me with that. Are you better interacting with groups, or are you better interacting one on one? Are you the type of person that would feel comfortable going over to talk to a group of people, or are you better at just the one-on-one interaction? So those are the things I want you to look at with regards to, how are you, or where's your comfort level when it comes to working with the customers that you have and what's going on. Stress happens, we know that. So I'm looking here at just stress relief tips as we start to wind down toward the end of the program here. And these tips are aligned more toward the introverted personality style. And I can tell you that I've already put some of these into practice, and I just love them. All right, this is one that I adore, and I didn't know it was so simple. So we're talking here about the parasympathetic nervous system, or PNS. And the idea here is that when we are feeling stimulation or overstimulation, that there are two techniques. One, I'm sure we've heard a lot about, and it's actually a really good one, and that is deep breaths. And really to breathe deeply down into your diaphragm. And I have like an 8-second method that I like to use in breathing in and then breathing out, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And what's going on? My favorite method now is just to lightly run 1 or 2 fingers over your lips. Who knew? This is so cool, and I've used this. So the parasympathetic fibers that are spread throughout the lips are there so that when you are touching them, you actually stimulate the PNS, and it's remarkable how something like this simple gesture can produce an immediate sense of calm in your mind and body. So there's your source on that for Tony Bernhard and doing that. Where did I learn that one? I just read about it, Anne, and when I was doing research on stress relief, came across this. My wife is a natural doctor that some of you know and some of you don't know, and so she also led me into other materials to look at with this. So for researching, look at parasympathetic nervous system and the ways that we can, in essence, activate this. So deep breaths, and then also just try the 1 or 2 fingers over your lips. And I was amazed at the success with that and doing that. This one sounds easy. I won't claim that it is. If I'm working 8 hours in a day and it may be hard to get out of the building to get out. And yet, I also want you to think about that it does not necessarily have to be while you are working, but after work. I have heard people time and time again say that one of their things to do to help them kind of come down from the stimulation or just kind of release the day is actually on their way home is to stop at a park or to stop at an area that is outdoor where they can just go and sit and just go and be. And I'm a huge fan of this technique. As I've got noted there, natural light can be very soothing. Actually, yesterday when it was raining here, I had a blast just walking in the rain. There's something about walking in the rain. I don't know what it is, but it is just a huge, huge happy moment for me. So I got wet. Big deal. Sun, cloud, snow. I try to be mindful of the surroundings. Sophia says here. We did a program. Oh, I don't know how long ago it was, Ann, where we talked about the one library that had grass. It was Cornell, I'm pretty sure, that had grass in the library, real live grass, and maybe a couple weeks ago. And it was there for the students to go lay in the grass to get back into that energy of the outside and what was happening. It was Cornell, and they did it during exam week, Ann is telling me here. So think about those different things. What can you do just to get out? Just get outside, even if it's just for a few minutes. The data suggests that it will help you to take the edge off. And also, when you are getting out, the trick here is to be mindful of your surroundings. So notice the trees, notice the breeze, notice the different things that are going on. The patterns, I love patterns of the clouds. I was actually taught a long time ago to look for what they call the negative space. So, a lot of times we look at the shape of the clouds to see, oh, that looks like an angel or that looks like a dog or whatever. And yet I do the opposite. I look at the negative space. In essence, I look at the blue space, or whatever color the clouds, are not covering up. And it's really kind of fun to look at that negative space as well, as just a way of staying in that moment and what's going on. On this one here, I want you just to, number one, acknowledge, but also get to know your emotions. So you're disappointed. Well, good. Acknowledge it. You're upset. Okay, let's take a look at what happened. Why did I get upset? Why am I happy about that? Why am I excited about those things? Obviously with stress relief, we're probably looking more at the disappointed or upset or angry or those different things. But a lot of people try to dismiss the emotion. And what I'm suggesting here is to acknowledge it. You don't have to know why in this moment that you're upset. You don't have to know why that you're disappointed. I don't believe it's helpful to just try to dismiss it, though. So that's where I suggest acknowledge that you're upset. And maybe, at work you can't really feel it out at that moment or in those moments, but maybe you'll have a chance later to say, that really bothered me. And let me take a look at maybe why that really bothered me so much. Journaling here to me is a big help. In looking at these situations. I believe everybody that works in customer service should be issued a journal by their organization. And I know I'm not going to win this argument with a lot of organizations, but what a great tool to give people, especially introverts who like to journal like me in what we do. I do a full day version of this workshop, and one of the key things that I give people is a journal, because we don't do group work. we don't do these different things, it's reflecting time in what we do. So maybe I can talk more libraries into giving customer service people journals to kind of help them through. Question for you. How do you recover or reset from your overstimulation? I want you to think about that and put this discussion area. How do you recover or how do you reset? Whether it's overstimulation throughout your day and you're done, or whether it's overstimulation in a situation that you've had with a customer. Because it's important to understand how to reset. And it's important for you to have a reset instead of just pushing and pushing and pushing, which unfortunately is only going to, I believe, add to your stress because you haven't, in essence, been able to let go of whatever it is that's causing the stress. All right, take a walk or read. Get up from the desk, walk through the building, sew, read, or play video games. I hermit for a day or two. What a blessing that is. Take a walk or work out. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pickleball, bowling, some of the things. Oh, yeah. Okay, reading alone. Sitting outside in the sun, laying with your cat. Excellent. Do something with my hands. Okay, I can see that energy release. So shelving books, organizing a display. Go to the back. Sigh out loud and breathe. I'm a big fan of scream therapy as well. If you ever heard the song Shout by Tears for Fears, that's what that song's all about. Shout, shout, let it all out. I would suggest you let people know you're about to scream at the top of your lungs if you're going to do it. And maybe outside so you don't freak people out, but I love that. Walk through the building, take a day to myself, good. I don't talk on the phone when I'm at home. Wow. I don't know that I could do that. Oh, just think about family there is where I'm going. Love on your dogs, good. Take a walk, good. Okay. It's important that you know what your reset tools are. And how is it that you can help yourself to recover? Like many of you, I'm not into TV. TV to me is just more stimulation, and people are arguing and yelling and doing things like that. So for me, it would be quiet time. It would be reading. Actually, to me, music can be an incredibly powerful tool for me to reset or recover. Certainly depending on the genre of the music. So that may be something some of you do as well to make that happen. Okay, yeah, let's do this. What's one thing that you think you can take away from the program today? And I want to open it up for questions as well. We've got a few minutes here before we get to the bottom of the hour. So think about it for a moment here, and what's a takeaway for today? One of the things that I have learned is that a lot of people, a lot of presenters will ask you a question and expect an immediate response. And that's not how introverts function. I mean, I need time. I need time to process. I need time to think about it and what's going on. So, take your time is my suggestion here. And if there are any questions that you had that kind of came up during the program, please go ahead and put them in the discussion area and we can look at those as well. And then I'll put up my thank you as well because I really appreciate you guys being here. We had a great crowd today and I appreciate you taking the hour and the time to maybe sharpen your skills a little bit and learn a little bit more about those of us who are ambiverted or introverted, or those of you that may have folks that are. All right. Love the phrases to diffuse conflict. Unfortunately, giving patrons the benefit of the doubt when talking with them. Cool. Introverts are not dominators. Nope, we're not. We're not. That's just not our personality. Really appreciated the focus on the strengths of introverts vis-a-vis customer service. Cool. And I think that these are huge strengths for us. And Susan in her TED Talk talks about actually that the best leaders are not extroverts, the best leaders are introverts. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, acknowledge your emotions. Good. I can try to reframe how I think about certain tasks and align with my core personal projects. Yeah, that was real powerful for me when I was putting this program together. I had not heard of the free trait theory before that, and we do it, but I never had a phrase for it, or I never understood it. Maybe is the best way that I'm saying that when it's core to me, then it's easier for me just to do whatever I need to do. Realizing sometimes patrons just want to feel heard. Good, they do. Asking staff to ponder what their driver is for coming to work. Yeah, it's interesting to find out, are they more are they more driven by the outside things, or is it more inside? We get to find out by asking that question. Take time to identify areas that I lack confidence and ask supervisors to help me include those one at a time. Nice. Very good. And I would suggest one at a time. I think you're right on point with that. Don't try to take on too much in what you're doing. Really love the phrases. I like the idea that patience is how we behave while waiting. Yes. Isn't that powerful? Because I've seen people who are not very patient. Very, she says. Yeah, I think of my brother waiting at a restaurant. It's not pretty. It's just not. He's not good at waiting. He's not patient. And to me, it's like, well, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to talk. It's an opportunity to do whatever, and to make the most of it. All right, Ann, why don't you jump in? I don't see any questions. Thank you all for your comments and for your takeaways. It's always good to see that. And I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. So have a great afternoon, and we'll see you at another one of our programs in the near future.
Oh, Andrew, you just described George in a nutshell on that patience thing. Let's not go there. I was thinking when I was looking at this, and I read another article on introverts this morning, I think, or maybe yesterday morning. Isn't there a little bit of introversion in everybody? I think there might be.
It's a good question. Probably.
Because I'm
Yeah.
probably an ambivert. It makes me think there's probably a little bit in everybody.
But do they display it?
Right.
What,
Exactly. Yeah. Does it hold
yeah,
them back
interesting.
anyway? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just think about that. Just ponder that for a while. All right. I
Probably
don't see any other questions either.
says not some people. So interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I can think of one in particular, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We're already over time now, but I want to give it a chance. We had a large crowd today, so maybe there's some introverts that won't have their question until right now.
Or later, they can email me. That'll be
There you
fun.
go.
Yeah.
That really made that. I used to when I was teaching a lot. There was always a student in the class that would ask me the questions after class was over. Good questions and relevant, and everything was fine. But that was a really good question. Why didn't you ask it 10 minutes ago? And now I realize it's just an introverted personality, and that's the way he processed, and he asked the question later. So
And the answer is they weren't ready.
right,
That's all.
exactly.
They just weren't ready. The technique, Ann, that I use in this workshop that I do is called Think, Pair, Share. So they're given a
Right.
situation to think about and journal and write on and do those different things, and then they pair up with one other person, and then they talk about it, and then if they wish to share it with the big group, great. If not, okay, that's fine.
That's that whole new approach to teaching,
Yeah,
and some people love it. Other people other people can't stand it. Some people think it's a lazy teacher who is doing that just so they can go, play games in the front of the room, but it's not. It's so that you can bring out all personality types within your students.
yeah. And I've done the workshop twice now in Florida and Maryland, and with the introverted folks, they love that format. It gives them time.
Right.
They don't
Right.
feel like they have to, and and I tell them up front, you're not going to be called on. That's not how this works, and introverts hate that. So, but yeah, but good stuff. All right, thanks, Anna Brian.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending. Great participation today. We really appreciate that. It makes it much more interesting for all of us. So we thank you for coming, and thank you, Andrew. Great presentation, and we'll see you all again soon at another PCI webinar. Have a great afternoon, everybody.